All right, all right, all right. Welcome in. Toilets to Titles, episode number 185. I am feeling extra patriotic this evening. Happy 4th of July. I hope you all are celebrating. And if you have fireworks, if you're playing with fireworks, be careful. Okay. Most of us have jobs and we cannot afford to be losing fingers, thumbs, toes, and all that good stuff. But I am joined this evening by the Iceman for some
Yes,
American conversation, SFB 13. So, Chris, how are we doing this evening, my guy?
yeah, doing really good, man. Happy to be here. Another SFB mock should be interesting. I like the fact that we're going to talk about it and see what kind of things. There's obviously a lot of chatter out there. A week until draft day, so everyone trying to finalize their strategies. It'll be good for everyone to see what type of thing goes on and for us to analyze for sure.
Yeah, man. And I know you like your sub chats, right? Because that's kind of we linked up in a Frankenstein sub chat. We had sub chat for pick two. I believe we both were picking pick two, and we were talking strategy. So you currently pick 10th overall, and you're in a chat with gentlemen and ladies who are picking 10th overall. And this idea was brought up to you in that chat. So why don't you kind of break down how we're going to run this episode this evening, and then we can kick this mock off.
Yeah, sure. So people just obviously the community is made up of those people that work for and are content creators themselves, and those people that are just standard fantasy football players, fans, and everyone was kind of talking about content and what they wanted to see. And I think a lot of people were just interested in, hey, like these mocks can take a while. Some do slow draft mocks, some do the quick style, and people just really wanted to see what everyone else is doing, and just really see, and have an analysis around, hey, if I'm picking at 101, like what happens with the third round reversal and how are other people approaching it? Are people in the same kind of area as me going to be doing the same thing? And that's why I kind of thought, hey, it would be nice. And what we're going to do today is just the first 5 rounds, just a quick draft. And then me and you are going to discuss kind of how each of those teams have been set up and what each person at each position is really looking at. We're obviously going to take some some liberties there with assuming what everyone is thinking, but just with the builds that they start to put together, you can talk about how you're going to play it. I'm not drafting from the 110 in this mock, but I'm drafting from the 111, so it's not too far away. But again, I don't want to give away too many of my secrets in case people in my division are watching. But I think everyone just wants to know, that with content, there's so much content now around this, like. So we're just going to break down kind of the 1 through 4, what you can kind of do, what kind of players are available, and what kind of builds are you thinking about now. Where's your strategy going? Are you taking 2 quarterbacks early? Are you going wide receiver heavy? Are you going running backs? And then if you do that, like we'll talk about the players that are left over. Like if you're not picking any QBs in the first 5 rounds, then who's left? Who are you kind of having to settle for? And are you okay with that based on how you've built your team? So yeah, that's really what we're going to be looking at today.
Love it. And last week we had Ryan McDowell on. So if you're a big fan of the Scott Fish Bowl, you want to go check that out. Chris joined me as well. We were joined by Andrew Campy, and they got to talk about kind of how the rules are thought up every year, how the divisions are thought up every year, the process and how this league has developed over the past few years. So that was definitely some good conversation for those of you who've been in SFB for a while. And even those of you who are new, I do suggest you go back and check that out. However you're watching us, if you're on the YouTube, it'd be greatly appreciated. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the bell so you're alerted every time we go live. And every time we drop a short, we dropped a few shorts yesterday. One on Dalvin Cook and his ADP, one on Jahmyr Gibbs and his ADP. We're dropping shorts all throughout the week. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. If you want to get into the Frankenstein Listener League, I think we're down to 12 or 13 openings. Reach out to me on the Twitter, at Coach Sheps. Reach out to the show, at Toilets and Titles. Or if you throw us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, it's really good, and you take a screen cap of it and you DM it to me on Twitter, you might get in for free because it's a $25 entry. And this league is bananas. We're up to 96 teams, and it's gonna fill up by July 15th, and we're gonna start our shenanigans by August 1st. So get ready for that. And if you want to mock with us, because it is redraft season, that's coming up right after SFB season. We have a gilded chat with over 150 members, and in there, we're constantly, I think we're doing like 3 or 4 mock drafts a week. But the bigger we get, it's more likely that not just Toilets Titles members are going to be running mocks. There's just going to be people in there, Title Tribe members running mocks. So we can run as many mocks in there as there are people willing to start mocks. And I have a feeling that as things get going, we're going to have a lot of mocks going on in there. So we do have a new card in Frankenstein. I was going to debut it tonight. I'm going to debut it next week. I want to give next week. We'll get back into Frankenstein, which is our listener league, episode 180. If you're curious, go back and check that out. We fully break it down. So, I don't think it's the right night. Okay, and that's kind of a little hint right there. I don't think it's the right night. All right, for this card. So I'm going to save it for next week, and we also are adjusting a card. I think we kind of talked about it last week, but I'll bring it up again next week for those of you who missed last week's episode. So, man, I'm going to share the screen. Let me pull up this mock. Where we at? Let me bang, boom, mock's pulled up. I am going to. Why don't you tell everybody? We're going to start it off, and click start. So here we go. Are you sure you want to start the draft? Yes, I do. Make sure you hit the alert, or not the alert, hit the bell on there that silences, or hit the microphone so we don't hear the weird sleeper sounds every time somebody makes a pick that sleeper does not agree with, because everyone listening at home will hear that. So here we go. So P picking 13 is picking. So it works out. Who do you think is going first? Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce off the board. Bang. I love to see it. There goes Kelce. You think we go back-to-back tight end here?
I would be putting a lot of money on that.
Who would be the second? Who's your second tight end? Andrews?
Andrews, yeah.
Yeah. Has to be.
But I still think there's a big gap between the two.
Yeah.
Certainly in this scoring, the way that the Chiefs haven't really, strengthened their receiving core beyond what they had last season. No moves in free agency. They're obviously happy. I mean, they won the title, so they're obviously happy with what they've got. But yeah, Kelsey's everyone says he's a cheat code in this format where you've got tight end premium. But yeah, so I think he's definitely surprised to see him go 101, but he's definitely a top 5 pick.
In most divisions, I don't think the draft is going to go like as planned in most divisions. No. Like you're not just drafting against 11 people, you're drafting against thousands of people. And you have to try to be the team that's, all right, so time's up. All right, so we got Josh Allen. That's fine. That's pretty standard. So we had Travis Kelce go. We have Josh Allen go. Matty B goes Patrick Mahomes. All right, but yeah, I was saying you got to try to have the right recipe. And part of that recipe is going to be being different than everybody else. There goes Jalen Hurts. What are your thoughts on that?
I think those first 3 quarterbacks off the board could go in any order. Yep. They're going to be the top 3 quarterbacks. I think Lamar Jackson, for me, is the one that enters that conversation. He went 4th.
He was the 4th of those 4 quarterbacks, so 5th overall.
Yeah.
All right, so then Jefferson went, Burrow went. I'm going to make my selection. Keep going.
Yeah, but I think those 3, they year in, year out, they're going to prove, like, Hurts and Jackson have the running edge, right? The rushing quarterbacks. Ryan spoke about it last week. The edge that you get with the first downs, they're going to be huge. But yeah, in any order, whoever the first, they're going to be the first 3 or 4 off the board. They're probably all going to go top 5 picks in most drafts. But yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think if you draft, and your point about drafting early, or you being comfortable taking someone like Burrow or Herbert as you just have, is that you're comfortable taking either of those guys as your quarterback. But everyone at the beginning is like, hey, I'm probably comfortable taking one of those first three. Like if you're in the top 3 picks, you're comfortable taking Mahomes or Hurts if Allen goes 1 and you go 2. So you've got that pretty much nailed down, and then it's, who's left over. Like you have the choice. You know that those 3 guys, and I would be happy if I was there taking any of those. Like I don't think there's too much to put between them right now, based on where they're going to finish next year. One of them will kind of separate themselves from the pack, but who that will be, no one knows right now. Like we're going to find that out as the season progresses, but it could be any of them. And then there could be a wild card. There could be, Herbert has got the potential to do it. I like him. I took him in Frankenstein last year. But someone like Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, could make the leap from a fantasy perspective and really be looking at being QB1,
So we had, after Jackson, went Jefferson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase. So far we have 1 tight end off the board. We have 6 quarterbacks off the board, or 7. You went with Justin Fields. That's who I was picking between with Herbert at that selection. And I've really, at 7, been going between Lamar Jackson and Fields. And Jackson was gone and Fields was there, but for some reason I went with Herbert. I'm starting to get a little intrigue on Herbert due to the addition of Kellen Moore. We saw Dak Prescott just go at 12, and he's stacking them with CeeDee Lamb. So we got our first stack. You go with Trevor Lawrence. We got Jamar Chase and Austin Eckler. So we have somebody avoiding the quarterback, going skill position players, and Joshua is on the clock now. He drafted Christian McCaffrey in the first. With Dak Prescott, he's gotten more intriguing to me, over the past few weeks due to the no punishment for interceptions.
Yeah, I think that opens the field up completely. Like I'm picking from the 110. So we've got a vet, Bougie Sports here is picking from the 110, and she's gone Chase and Eckler. When I've been doing mocks normally, like if Fields isn't there, I don't take a QB in the first 2 rounds. I don't mind that start from the 110 with in mind what you have said about the no punishment rule. I don't mind now taking someone like Jared Goff. Rodgers is going to be there. Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, these kind of guys who are going to be very likely available with the 3rd round reversal at the 3-3, some of them even the 4-10, dependent on how your drafts go. So yeah, I really, in that position, when we'll talk about it a bit more once we see them, but being at the 1-9 and beyond, if someone like Fields goes, if Fields had gone instead of Jefferson, for example, then yeah, I don't think I really mind starting off something like Joshua, McCaffrey, Robinson. That's a very solid start. I think Bijan is he's the big potential X factor there. Like McCaffrey, what you're going to get out of him. Bijan could be huge this year. Does he adapt to the NFL in year 1 as a rookie? If he does, then that could be a huge start for Joshua, where he's going back-to-back running backs. He's got himself sorted there, and you would probably assume that at the 3rd round reversal, he could even be building it that way, and he could be happy to wait on his quarterback and could take a wide receiver at the 3-4. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, so we saw, Joshua's got those 2 running backs, like you mentioned. I added Deshaun Watson and Justin Herbert. We got Frito went with Mark Andrews. So the second tight end off the board. What the heck just happened? The second tight end off the board went in the second round, mid-second, right? So about what is that? 18 picks after the first tight end, which shows you there's a big gap there. We're on a wide receiver run right now. Shart paired Cooper Kupp with Justin Jefferson. Don Carlonio paired Tyreek Hill with Lamar Jackson. Full Metal Pelvis drafted A.J. Brown to go with Jalen Hurts. So we got a Dak Lamb stack, and we got a Hurts Brown stack. So I like to see
I'm a big fan of that Hurts Brown stack, to be honest. We'll see what happens the next 3 picks, but I'm interested to see if he is contemplating Dallas Go Dirt at the 3-9.
Man, I don't know. I guess we could talk about this after the 5th round when we pause it, but I don't know if I'm willing to go that heavy on a stack. That's risky. But I guess you got to risk it, right? Especially
you just said that, right? Like you're not going to win this tournament playing safe and just doing what everyone else is going to do. Right. So yeah, of course, when it comes to the week where the Eagles are on a bye, you've lost your top 3 picks and not playing that week. But who's to say that injuries and whatnot are going to? It's the same with everything, right? Like everyone says, like, oh, what if you drafted McCaffrey in the first round and potential for injury? They've all got potential for injury. You can't draft that way, in my opinion. You can't draft it by looking at what ifs around, hey, like this could happen, that could happen. Like you have to draft what you believe is the best team. And if you're looking at it that way and he's possibly an Eagles fan, or if he believes the Eagles are going back and winning the Super Bowl this year, which is not a stretch, then why not take the stack, and why not take that stack as far as he can?
So we saw Desmond Ridder just went in the 2nd round, which that fits the risk. I mean, but with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, I don't know if you need to take him in the 2nd, but if he hits, that's a player right there that could set but also you're walking on thin ice, because if he breaks, it's not looking good for you, but it could also go very well. So Josh Allen Diggs, we have our 3rd stack in the 1st. Daniel Jones ends so we have our 3rd stack at the end of the 2nd, and then Daniel Jones caps the 2nd. To start the 3rd, the FF Assassin drafts Saquon Barkley, so we see him off the board. And Chris, you're on the clock.
Oh yeah, so I am. Tough call. I'm going to take this guy just because I could have taken Jonathan Taylor, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs. I mean, literally any of those guys at this point. Picking from the 110 here, like I would be happy with any of those running backs. But Davante Adams is my guy, so he's still there. So I couldn't not take him. That will be a very tough one for me if he's there. If he is still there at the 303 in the real thing, and it's, I don't know, I think I probably would. I'd be very torn. Like if Nick Chubb is still there and Jonathan Taylor's still there, just again with the first down, it's a toss-up, right? Like depends what you're looking at. Like Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor have the potential to be RB1 on the season.
Nick Chubb is the Browns are saying they're going to give him the passing down role, and I like that. I love Chubb. I think he's one of the most underrated backs in the NFL. And Jonathan Taylor was 2 years away from leading the league in rushing yards. So those are 2 interesting backs. But Davante Adams, you know what you're getting.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like, you know what you're getting. Jimmy Garoppolo in Vegas now. He's still going to get 10 touchdowns a season. He's going to go for 1,200 yards. He's going to be the main guy, obviously. And like you say, what you're getting with him. I don't mind the pick there. And like I said, everyone has that, right? And I've seen that. That's another conversation, which is I've seen a lot of people saying, do you draft the players for your own team that you support? Do you combine and mix that fantasy element with the real life support of the team. So for you, like if Dak had dropped to the second round and you'd have taken Dak at 205, being a Cowboys fan, like would you do that because now you're all in on Dak this
Oh hell
season?
yeah, I
Like,
would.
and you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people out there that are saying no, like they're not drafting, but it depends who your team is, I guess, right?
I can separate my fandom from my fantasy perspective.
Mhm.
So if I think a player is solid, I'm going to draft him. I'm not going to, even if he's an Eagle, if he's a Giant, if he's a Commander, if he's a Cowboy, if he's a Packer, teams I like or dislike, I can generally separate that. But third round went quick. We saw Saquon Barkley, Devontae Adams, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. I took Garrett Wilson, TJ Hawkinson, Nick Chubb, Tua, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, Ramondre, Derrick Henry, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave to start the fourth, followed by Brees Hall. So Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Derrick Henry, and Brees Hall. That's a
So,
a strong high floor roster right there. Matty B's on the clock.
yeah, that's a strong start for sure. Um I like Brees Hall this year.
I was hoping Tony Pollard made
Hmm.
it back to me. That was the first kind of ouch. I didn't take him at 3-5. Felt it was a little bit of a reach,
Hmm.
but I might take him in the third round in SFB. You know, it's tough. Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, George Kittle. Now I'm back on the clock, and this is
But
where Kyle's
Frito Bandito has taken the George Reed view on being a tight end bully here
right.
and forcing the point. He's taken Andrews, Hawkinson, and Kittle. Um, yeah, I'm not sure that I mean, it's not a bad strategy. It's not the worst strategy in the world, but not something that I would be looking to do. Not right there. Not when you passed up Nick Chubb on at the 306.
Mhm.
Um, and then, I mean, Jamar Gibbs is a great pick for you at the 408, to be honest.
But it's risky. But missing on Pollard. That's
Yeah.
what I'm hoping. It's like I've seen Pollard do it. I would much rather have him, but I'm assuming Gibbs is going to get a similar role with higher draft capital in an
Yeah.
offense that should have some fireworks. Indoors half the season on turf. So
Mm.
Joshua went with his first quarterback. He went with Kirk Cousins, so he's got 3 running backs in Cousins. So
I was half expecting Cousins to go earlier with, Shard, who took Jefferson and stack them there. The way this has gone with the 3 stacks already, I was that because that's what I'd be looking for. Like if I've done a couple mocks where being in the 110, I'm taking Gibbs drops and I take him at the 410, and then I'm taking Jared Goff at the 503. So you've kind of got a mini stack there of quarterback, running back. Just again in Detroit, Amon Ra is not making it back. You could take him in the third round if you were all in on the Lions, but yeah, I don't mind the Gibbs Goff stack. Like we said, even without the negative points. But yeah, I mean, again, same thing, right? You know what you're going to get with Kirk Cousins. As long as he's not playing on prime time, you're probably safe.
yeah, I agree. But decent value right there in the fourth round.
Mm-hmm.
For a guy. This isn't Dynasty. This is one
Yeah,
season, and you
for
know
sure.
he's gonna, and especially if you got the guys you wanted early, for him to fall in your lap in the fourth round in a 2 quarterback league, not too bad. We got Debo off the board, and then you're on the clock. All right, Joe
And to,
Mixon.
to your point now, like, yeah, this isn't Dynasty. It's dependent on how it goes here. Like, this is where I'm surprised Mixon falls this far. I know, like, there's question marks right around stability and what's going to happen with him this season, but he's going to get in my opinion, he's going to get a ton of the work. He's in that workhorse role for an offense that, yeah, they're going to throw the ball a lot, obviously with Chase, Higgins, and Boyd. But I don't mind both of these guys. Like, if I can get these two guys that I've just taken, Mixon and Aaron Jones, in the 4th and 5th round on that turn, the 4-10 and the 5-2, no, and the 5-3, if I'm in the 10 spot or in the 11th, like I am here, then I think that again, like you said, it's not Dynasty. These guys have been around the league. That you know what you're going to get from them. You know, with Love being the QB in Green Bay now, I feel like he's going to be checking down a lot. He's going to, him and Jones and AJ Dillon. That's the concern with Jones is the AJ Dillon. Is he going to take over the QB1 spot? Is it going to be a Dallas situation again this year,
Right.
where AJ Dillon is going to take that over? But I think Jones will still get a lot of the passing work, even more so now with Jordan Love. I say he'll be checking down a lot, making sure that he gets those first downs. So those two guys in the 4th and 5th, I really like. And the fact that I was able to go 2 quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds gives me the ability to take a risk on both of those guys. But yeah, I really like that build.
Man, this is tough. I got Goddard and Pitts. Do I want the high floor, safe play, probably going to miss 2 or 3 games this year? Or do I want to swing for the fences? I drafted him in the 3rd last year and crushed me. And I'm gun shy.
Yep.
But, man, I don't know. This is probably going to be a decision I have to make. I don't think it's too early for Goddard. I think I'm going to go safe here. And especially because I went a little risky with Gibbs in the last pick. I think I'm going to go safe. I'm going to go with Goddard. So Goddard is gone. I got my tight end, and I think I like a well-rounded approach for my roster.
Yeah.
I think that's I see kind of similar with you. So now,
Yeah, I mean the tight ends. I'm happy to have not taken any of these guys. I don't think I would where I am, like that back end. The way the draft went, I could have taken Darren Waller or Goddard or Pitts in the 4th, 2 of them in the 5th. But I think the way that the tight end position is split, like the tiers, you probably have got like Kelsey tier 1 on his own, Hawkinson and Andrews, and probably Kittle in that 2nd tier, and where Frito Bandito has kind of bullied his way and taken all 3 of those guys. Waller, Goddard, Pitts, probably Freiermuth and Engram, probably on that 3rd tier, but I think there's still a big drop. But the tier underneath that, there's the likes of Njoku, Schultz, Kamei, and Nkonkwo, Dolchich, Tyler Higbee, those guys all being available later on. Dalton Kincaid, I know you've talked about on previous shows.
all right, let me pause this bad boy because we just we made it through 5 rounds. So yeah, Dalton Kincaid is somebody who, if I don't get a Dallas Goedert, I don't get a Kyle Pitts, I like, and that's another risky pick though. I say if I got a Tony Pollard or I got a Nick Chubb at running back, I would feel more safe taking a flyer on a guy like Dalton Kincaid over a guy like a Dallas Goedert. Well, I probably wouldn't take him over Goddard, but I might wait on tight end there, and I might take tight end, in a round or 2, because Dalton Kincaid with Dawson Knox there. The word out of Buffalo already is Knox is going to get the inline work. Kincaid's going to get the slot work, which should open up more targets for him. The depth of each target should be a little bit better than if he was in line. Should increase, there's point per first down for receivers. The tight ends get an additional point per reception. So the bonuses are huge there. But let's go over these teams, all right? So first team, Kelsey first overall, Daniel Jones, Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, and J.K. Dobbins. Next squad was Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Derrick Henry, Breece Hall, and Keenan Allen. So the first 2 teams only took 1 quarterback. pretty strong depth at wide receiver in the first team, solid tight end, strong depth at running back for the second team, and being able to land a guy like Josh Allen, I'd be decently comfortable with waiting on a second quarterback if that be the case. And then so I'm going to read off the third team, and then we can kind of break down these first three teams. The third team, Mahomes first overall, Desmond Ridder, high ceiling, a little bit of a red flag, but if this is your guy in this league with 4,000 teams, you don't want somebody else to take the guy. You take him. And it was the end of the second, third round reversal. So you're not picking again right away. You're picking at the end of the third. Ramondre Stevenson, T. Higgins, and Kyle Pitts. So he got the Ridder-Pitts stack. So this must be a Falcons fan. So what are your overall thoughts on the teams, the first three selections of this draft?
I think my preference of those three teams is the 102. I have Josh Allen in my Dynasty league, is Superflex, and I basically went with just Josh Allen for most of last season, and had running backs and wide receivers in that Superflex position. Was picking QBs off the waiver wire, because Josh Allen is, in that elite tier where you can get away with waiting. And again, the players left on the board, the QBs left on the board now, if he was going to pick again, you've got Geno Smith still sat there that he could take in the 6th round, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, the rookies. I don't mind.
Stafford, Kyler Murray.
Yeah, you've Derek Carr, again, with these guys, even waiting, like I said, someone, I don't mind it. And like you said, he's got the dig stack. He's got Keenan Allen, who is him and Williams. I don't know which one I would have taken there. Like, if you like them, they're both probably going to go well. But yeah, I really like the Henry and Breece Hall. The fact that he was able to get those two, I think there's some great value in Breece Hall there at 402. So yeah, that's a really solid start for the 102. Picking at the 101, yeah, he's Kelsey, Waddle, and Olave.
I love Waddle and Olave. I think Olave is a monster. I like Garrett Wilson. I took him in the 5th. I'm sorry, the 3rd round, but the 5th selection of the 3rd round. And I think Olave is, a little bit below Wilson, but not that far. To get him in the 4th, so Daniel Jones, I wonder if DeBall being there for a second year, defense is having film of Jones in that system. When Jones looked at his best, wide receivers were running wide open. Like that playoff game against Minnesota, the Vikings did not adjust. Okay. So now defenses should have an idea of what this offense is doing. So I don't know if Daniel Jones is going to regress year 2 in the DeBall system. And most people, I think he's trending in the other direction. But I wouldn't surprise if there's a little bit of a regression. But I do love those wide receivers. Tight end's a dude. And then Dobbins and Jones are my 2 question marks. You're not going to have, home runs everywhere. Not everything's going to be safe. But Dobbins coming off that injury, I know he's young. Him and Cam Akers are 2 guys I'm not going to have anywhere, because I know both of them are fresh and they looked great when they were fresh, but both are in backfields, with Akers with the Rams, Dobbins with the Ravens. Both are in backfields that have had multiple personalities. Like, these backfields have multiple personalities. It's this guy, this coach likes this guy. He's giving this guy the ball this week. And injury, opportunity, it leads me to want to stay away from those guys. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of agree. Certainly, in a backfield where you ultimately, let's be honest, Lamar Jackson is RB1 for the Ravens. If they're going to choose to run the ball, then it's going, most of the time it's going to be Jackson. So Dobbins I don't mind the pick at the end of the 5th round. Like, when you look at who else there is, I prefer Dobbins over Mattison. Miles Sanders, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift. If you're going running back there at the 5-12, and even Pierce in Houston, Pearson, there's a question mark over, I think, this year. Like, again, same sort of principle. Like, is he going to, he's got the young quarterback. Are they going to lean on him a little bit more? There's the potential there. But yeah, I mean, I think he's in a position picking where he can take a risk at 5-12 because he's got Travis Kelce, he's got Jalen Waddle, he's got Chris Olave. These guys are going to put up points every week. Daniel Jones, I think I'm middle of the road. I understand where you're coming from. There'll probably be some regression, but I also think they didn't just give him that contract for no reason. Like he's going to want to go out there this year and show why they paid him all that money. And I mean, if Barkley does hold out for any length of time, then Daniel Jones as another rushing quarterback, you're at the point, right, where unless you're taking one of the rookies, he wasn't gonna be there with the third round reversal, taking Kelce and overlooking Allen Mahomes hurts. Maybe he wanted the rushing quarterback, and if you look at the bunch of guys that came off the board after that he would have had the choice from at the 3-12, Cousins, Wilson, Rodgers, Goff. You're taking a punt on Anthony Richardson or one of the new guys. So maybe he wanted a rushing quarterback because they give you a bit of an edge. But again, I don't mind either of those two teams. I think, like you said, there's not going to be home runs everywhere. And then, I think Mahomes, for Matty B, who picked at the 103, Mahomes being there at the 103 is a solid start. It allowed him to take that gamble you've mentioned on Ridder. Ramondre Stevenson, I was kind of all in on this season. I read some reports yesterday about Dalvin Cook, potentially the Patriots in the driving seat now to get maybe D-Hop and Dalvin Cook.
That's agent speak.
Yeah,
that's
you reckon he's still going to Miami?
Yeah, I think in division, I think that's driving up the interest. It doesn't seem like a Belichick move.
No, but yeah, I think I'm all in on Stevenson this year, so that's a great solid pick. And then T. Higgins, and like you said, Kyle Pitts. It's still a risk. He's still got talent. We know that, but and if you wanted a tight end, he's the last of the tight ends in that tier. Right. So again, I feel like that's something that in tight end premium leagues, people do start to look at a lot more. Like these tight ends go. I'm not personally don't fall in. I don't follow that trend. Because I think there's some great tight ends you can pick up further down. So I don't prescribe to the necessarily reaching for tight ends or taking a tight end in the first 5 rounds. I'd rather be solid elsewhere. But no, like all 3 of those first 3 teams, which you would expect from the positions, are very solid.
My favorite team so far is this 4th team. I think this 4th team is very well rounded. Jalen Hurts in the first round, stacked with AJ Brown, takes Amon-Ra St. Brown, followed by Tony Pollard, and then gets Jared Goff in the 5th. So he's got the Goff St. Brown stack, the Hurts AJ Brown stack, and then he's got Tony Pollard on a franchise tag year, who's likely going to get ran into the ground. But I'm going to plant my flag here. I think Tony Pollard outscores Saquon Barkley this year in fantasy football. I said it a few weeks ago, and everybody, who's the RB1 going into this year and in the NFC East? And everybody's saying, it's Saquon Barkley, without even thinking about it. I know Saquon Barkley has the best build. He has the best build of any running back in the NFC East. But if you look at what he did, yards after contact created, forced tackles created, Tony Pollard led in those categories on 100 less touches. And this year, we are going to see him, barring any setback or any injury, have all those touches. So in the 4th round, grabbing Tony Pollard, very solid. And then you follow that up. We got Lamar Jackson, Tyreek Hill, Tua, which is a little bit of a risk, but, the ceiling is there. I just personally, that's a guy I'm not going to have on any of my rosters either because, even though I know the ceiling is there, I don't think he plays 17. I think he plays 12 tops. followed by Najee, followed by Kenneth Walker. And Kenneth Walker, Don Carlo, I see what he's doing, solid squad, but Kenneth Walker now also has to deal with Zach Charbonnet, which is, kind of what's that going to be like? Is Charbonnet going to get the passing down work? Is that going to affect them? But I love the points per carry because I do think Kenneth Walker is going to be fed. He just might not be getting those passing down touches. So what are your thoughts on these two rosters here?
Yeah, well, they're stacked, aren't they? Like, as in, Full Metal Pelvis has gone for the double stack. He's all in on Philadelphia and Detroit early. And like you say, I kind of agree on Pollard. I think 404 is a great position to take him. There's huge value in that. I certainly think that was the right pick at the time. Like over him and Harris, I have Pollard well above Harris this year. And then Don Carleonio has taken, whether he's gone for the Miami stack, and that's why he's taken Tua at that point to go with Tyreek Hill. I don't mind it. I think to counter your point about the 12 games, the concussion stuff is not like he's not injury prone. Like concussion is just one of those things that happens to football players.
Yeah, but the rate at which he's gotten them, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden 1 week, without even being hit, he's having symptoms. Like he had
I certainly understand
a
the question
major
mark.
concussion, and then like 2 weeks later, a week later, another major concussion. Like that's
for sure. Like I understand the question mark. I just don't know. I'm not in. I'm not out. I'm not going to draft him. So I guess that means I'm out. But I don't mind. Like I would still draft Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle if they were there, without any real, again, concern for that. Like your point about Kenneth Walker is valid. Again, it's basically the same principle as the J.K. Dobbins thing. Like if he's going for running backs again, which I think, we've seen a lot of running backs. I think more running backs just scanning through came off the board in those 5 rounds than any other position. Quarterback maybe, but like Kenneth Walker at the 508, I think is decent. Like again, you could take any one of those guys, and it's getting to that stage where who do you favor? Like everyone has got a different take on what's going to happen. It will be very interesting to see what happens in Seattle this year with Charbonnet there as well. But we know that Kenneth Walker has got the talent, proved that last year. So I mean, again, I think it's a solid squad he's built there. I mean, again, and you've got Lamar Jackson, so he's ultimately got another running back already. At that point, I maybe would have taken, given that, like, it's certainly if I'm in a 1 quarterback league, if I get Lamar Jackson, I'm taking a wide receiver over 2 running backs, to be honest. At that point. So, but that's me. That both of those look fairly well rounded, and talking of receivers, Shah at the 106 has kind of stacked himself. I love those first 3 picks. I'll be completely honest. I know it's super flex. It's two quarterbacks, but Jefferson, Cup, Chubb, like
right.
That as a start for any team,
and Smith. Smith.
And Devonta Smith. Yeah. I mean, Slim Reaper he's gonna eat again this year. You would assume both of them.
And now Sharp can afford to take dart throws in the later rounds. Like you filled up, you're solid at wide receiver, and what usually in leagues like this, winners are the running back you get late that kind of pops up and starts somewhere when nobody was expecting it, or the quarterback that backs up a starting guy and breaks out. Like a guy gets hurt, he comes in like a Brock Purdy. So, he's this roster is likely going to be filled with a bunch of dart throws late.
Yeah, and that's what he's enabled himself to do. He's had that start and will enable himself to do that. He's taken Rodgers, so he's got a quarterback, and he's got a quarterback. Again, we know what Aaron Rodgers brings to the table. in New York, coming there, he's going to want to prove a point. He has the weapons in New York to do that. Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson. I do agree. I think Wilson has a huge year, and I think Rodgers is a huge part of that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I really, really like this team.
Kyler Murray is going to make or break a lot of rosters like this
Mm-hmm.
and this next roster, like Joe Burrow, Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, George Kittle, Travis Etienne. You bring in a guy like Kyler Murray, who, if he's 80% of what he was his rookie season, should not be drafted in the 6th round. He should be like a 3rd round selection. These teams could boom. And the risks you took passing on a quarterback early are going to be, worth it. Like it's going to be worth it. Now, Rich, we saw George do this a few weeks ago on the mock, 3 tight ends in a row. It's kind of addition by subtraction. Not only are you loading up because there's 2 flex spots, right? So there's 3 flex spots. So you start a tight end, you're flexing 2 tight ends. You need to hit in your running backs, your wide receivers. You already got Joe Burrow, who's an absolute stud. Take 2 quarterbacks later, rotate through them, see whichever one does the best. But I don't mind this. And this is also going to separate you from the competition, because how many teams in this thing are going to have 3 top tier tight ends? And if they all stay healthy, solid.
Yeah, and I think that's the big point, isn't it? Like, if the 3 of them do perform as expected, and he's got 3 of the top 4, no one else in this mock, no one else really, a handful of guys will go the same kind of route, but no one else is going to have 3 of the top 4 at any of these skill positions. So it is one of those things that does potentially separate you from the competition. Now, if you're if you're one of the first 2 or 3 picks, you could probably do the same thing, taking Travis Kelce, taking Kelce, Hawkinson, Kittle. The first in your first 3, or you probably, that's your first 3 picks, first, second, third round. That's a huge, huge gamble, because again, you're not taking any wide receivers, any running backs, or any quarterbacks in your first 3 picks, but you've got 3 of the top 4 at a position that is premium in this league. Could be that could be a huge thing. So yeah, I like what Frito's done there. Travis Etienne as his first running back off the board is a great pick there for him. I think he was certainly the one available that I would have selected at that point. But yeah, like you said, it allows him. He's going to have to take dart throws, right, at the wide receiver position now. Like, by the time it rolls back round him, but again, you've still got absolute studs on the board. Someone like Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy, Chris Godwin, Michael Pittman.
My
like
team,
these guys
I got Herbert and Watson, Wilson, Gibbs, and Goddard. And where I'm going next, I'd go Amari Cooper. That's Amari Cooper. I'd stack him with Deshaun Watson, and luckily I could take him before, Frito has an opportunity to take him, because all those guys listed I like, but Deshaun Watson and that Cleveland Browns passing attack is committed to airing it out this season. And they brought in Elijah Moore, who should take a little bit of attention away from Amari Cooper. All that dude does is get open. He is about as solid as can be in the middle rounds. Every week, you know what you're getting. You're getting a 10-point minimum. And as a wide receiver 2 for me, behind a Garrett Wilson, and then with this roster, where I'm going to be taking dart throws, a running back, because I'll probably hit wide receiver again on the way back in round 7. Get the guy like Brandon Ayuk, somebody I really like if he happens to fall there in the 7th. And then with running back, I'm going to be going, maybe Devon A-Chain, DeAndre Swift, if any of if they fall, Isaiah Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Kendry Miller, maybe Khalil Herbert, because Roshan Johnson. So I'm going to be loading up this roster. I can see I'm going to try to get safe at wide receiver the next 2 picks, and then risky at right. Maybe if Kincaid, I might go ahead and grab a Dalton Kincaid at some point.
Yeah, no, I think you have to make that choice, right? I think dart throws, like you said, I have said this, and I think it's the same in any format, not just for SFB. I don't think you necessarily, as much as we're talking about these 5 round picks, I think this 5 round picks will determine where you can take the chances now and how you're going to build out the rest of your team. But it's in those later rounds where you're going to find the diamond in the rough, right? And it's going to be those late round picks who, like you said, that are starting the year number 2 or even number 3 on the depth chart, but due to injury or due to just them performing well, they're going to elevate themselves into that RB1 or wide receiver one or whatever it may be, or even in certain aspects QB1, and that's where you're going to win. It's potentially the late round picks, or I say the late round picks. These middle round picks are huge because the players that we've mentioned at the wide receiver position, I mean, that's huge. And I think that's where these guys now at the end here, the 1-9s and on. This is where you get the opportunity to certainly in this 6th, 7th round where you've got 2 picks for the next 8 play, of the next 10 or 12 players off the board. So you're looking again, and there's still a huge amount of talent on the board available to be drafted all the way down here. You've mentioned a couple of guys. I really like Rashad White. As the running back in Tampa, I think he's going to get huge volume. His ADP is currently like 71 or whatnot. He's ranked 71. I think he's not really talked about. But if I hadn't got if I was someone like the FF Assassin over here picking at the 112, if Rashad White is still available at the 612, which I imagine he would be, then taking him to pair with Barkley and then being able to take a wide receiver that we've mentioned, someone like Drake London or Christian Watson, even as far down, to be honest, as someone like Tyler Lockett or Christian Kirk. The build that I've got here with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, talk about your squad because we're cutting it close to the end here. So let's hear about your squad right there.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd be taking at least a receiver in the next 2 rounds, and that's very likely going to be Christian Kirk to pair with Trevor Lawrence.
What about DJ Moore to go with Fields?
Yeah, I mean, I could do both. The question mark is over Fields' throwing ability, right? We know that he's got legs. The hope is that he still does that this season and that his passing game is elevated. But I have a big question mark over that still. So the choice of the 2, I would rather take Christian Kirk. And then if I was, again, I don't need to, I've got Mixon and Jones, and I'm very happy with those 2 guys at running back. I don't necessarily, if I could take Rashad White, I would take White and Christian Kirk. If I can't get Rashad White, then I think I'm happy, which I imagine, with the guys that are between him, Miles Sanders, I think is going to do bits. I would imagine he comes off the board in this 6th round, possibly before it gets to me at the 6-11 though. I mean, even someone like James Conner, like you mentioned, Isaiah Pacheco, even Antonio Gibson, these guys, there are still guys out there who are going to be leading their backfield week in, week out with 15, 16 carries, getting all the goal line work. There's still some real solid people out there. So I think mine, I don't need to worry about another quarterback. So like I say, I will be loading up on 6, 7, and probably 8 and 9. I'm probably not even touching a tight end until later on, and taking someone like Tyler Higbee or Gerald Everett, even someone like a Gesicki if it goes that far. I'm not going to be touching tight end just due to the way it went. I wasn't touching anyone. If Andrews or Hawkinson had been there, if they drop, then yeah, sure, I might have taken Andrews at the 3-2. But yeah, I'm not reaching for the tight ends. I'll happily take any of these guys and take some dart throws on, even at the end of the, last couple of rounds, people like Isaiah Likely, Austin Hooper in Las Vegas, even some of the rookies, Luke Musgrave in Green Bay. I would happily take a dart throw at a couple of those guys. But yeah, I'm like I said, loading up on the wide receivers and the running backs, because I think there's just huge value in those two positions in these middle rounds. I know one of the guys earlier on one of the other shows had talked about the fact that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are still there. They're 60, 57 and 77, I think, are their ADPs, just purely because we don't know who's going to be the quarterback. But if Baker Mayfield can actually, if he can get the QB1 job for a start, is the first thing. But he's got the talent around him. These guys are going to score points. So I think down there, the value is huge. Same thing with Tyler Lockett. Down there, you've got JSN, who's going to dent his value a little bit. But I think if Geno can ball out again this season, value is certainly there for some of these receivers in the 6th and 7th rounds. So someone like Josh, who has loaded up on his running backs and then taken Kirk Cousins and Russell Wilson in the 4th and 5th rounds, I think he's probably going to take receivers at 6 and 7, and he's got a huge amount of options to choose from. He's got Russell Wilson there, the potential for the stack with Jerry Jeudy, or Cortland Sutton, whichever way he wants to go, if he wants to stack at all. But I also really like that start, that McCaffrey, Robinson, Jacobs. I'm a big fan of that. And if you're at this end of the draft, if the 1-9, 1-10s, then that kind of start is a dream for you. Because you're not going to get one of the top 5 quarterbacks, but you've got potentially the RB1, certainly the ADP one in McCaffrey. Bijan was, obviously the best rookie pick this year. So and then Jacobs. If Josh Jacobs can repeat anywhere near what he did last season, I think that's a team that I would happily take. The quarterback selections are a little bit questionable, but they're going to be if you wait that long to take QBs.
Yeah. Well, man. So we are going to I'm going to see if I know some of the guys are all over the country. We might end up finishing this thing. We might not. I don't know. But it was definitely a good exercise because we've been playing. Mm-hmm. I've been playing SFB since I want to say like SFB 7. And I've never done an exercise quite like this. And I'm actually getting prepared. Every year I do my own rankings. And I like to have, I like to either print it out and I like to cross off the players as I go because I don't trust technology. I don't trust the ADP. I'm always afraid I'm going to miss somebody. I'm going to see somebody draft somebody that I wasn't thinking about in the moment, and it's going to piss me off. So I make my rankings. I make my tiers. I got a Sharpie. I cross that stuff off. So this type of analysis has helped me, and I might go back and listen to this thing again to help me come up. And also, go on Twitter. Like, what a community we have. So many people are putting out things that they are creating to help each and every one of us prepare for SFB 13, to prepare to mock. So everybody, this has been about an hour. Chris, thank you so much for bringing this idea to me. The group 10 or the pick 10 group chat who brought this up to Chris. We appreciate you all for bringing that up. Everybody, again, listening at home, getting our gilded chat. We're going to be mocking not just through SFB, through Redraft. You want to support the show, patreon.com/toilets to titles. SFB mocks start July 10th. Get ready. Good luck. Getting gilded. Talk to us during your mocks, or not during your mocks, during your actual drafts, so we can bounce things off of us, because I know you're in your pick chats, but get in our chat, because we love to bounce some stuff off you. And then after SFB drafts comes Frankenstein. So get in Frankenstein. Reach out to me about that, because we have about 13 spots left, and we'd love to have you in there. So everybody, catch you all later on. Take care.